Hey, good morning, Chani and friends, and welcome to this week's edition of Patio Ponderings. I'm Pastor Sue, and I'm so glad you decided to join me. It's a little cool this morning for a mid-August summer morning, and it's a little breezy. So we'll see what happens as we move through this, and hopefully, we won't all blow away here. So we made it through a series on the book of Revelation. We finished that up on Sunday. And today then, I am going to talk about not what I've been thinking about, but I'm going to address one of your questions. So one of you asked me, what about the rapture in Revelation? We're going to talk about that. So first, let's address what the rapture is. If we're familiar with the cultural interpretations of end times theology in the Bible and in Revelation, you've maybe heard of the rapture. So this is the kind of snatching up of the true believers of Jesus just before the worst of the worst cataclysmic and apocalyptic events happen. Just before all hell breaks loose, literally, just before the Armageddon, then those who truly are faithful followers of Jesus will be snatched up from the earth, and they will be kept safe from the worst of the events. Craig Kester, professor at Luther Seminary, calls this the escape hatch. But the reason I didn't talk about Revelation or the rapture in our series on Revelation is because the rapture is not in the book of Revelation. Surprise! So the rapture is actually part of this theology I've been alluding to over the last few weeks that has been devised about the end times, where this theologian from the 1800s pieced together some verses from Daniel, some verses from Isaiah, some verses from Thessalonians, and some verses from Revelation, and kind of came up with this fragmented but systematic understanding of the end times. And the idea of the rapture comes not from Revelation then, it comes out of the letter to the church in Thessalonica in 1 Thessalonians, and it's written by Paul. But if we were to read this scene in its context with what's happening in the rest of the book, remember, context is critical. What we hear about is not rapture, but resurrection. That when Jesus returns, those who have died will be resurrected. They will be brought up to meet Jesus, and those that are still alive at the second coming of Christ will come up to meet Jesus in midair amidst all kinds of fanfare and angels and such. So resurrection is probably a more faithful interpretation of this than rapture. But rapture has certainly become part of our cultural understanding of end times, but not biblically very well, and certainly it's not in Revelation. But that's why we didn't talk about it. But here's what I'm wondering about from you, since we're on the subject of your questions. At the beginning of the book of Revelation, I asked everybody in the congregation what they think of when the book of Revelation is mentioned. And a lot of people said things like, it's mysterious, and it's so confusing, and maybe it's fearful, and those kinds of answers. And what we've tried to bring forth in these weeks together is that it is actually a book of hope. So I'm wondering if that's what you see it as now. What is your reaction now when you think of the book of Revelation? Has it shifted from when we began a few weeks ago? We certainly only got a cursory view of Revelation for sure, so I'm sure there's still questions and wonderings. So what are those? What do you still wonder about? What do you still want to know about in terms of the book of Revelation? As always, I love to hear what you have to say. I'd love to field your questions. Let me know what you think. Have a great day. I think the sun is coming, and we'll see you Sunday. Bye.